Hey guys, if you'd like to join the GOAT list and help support the channel, link down below in the description. You can join for only $1 a month. You help support the channel and you get featured in all my videos. Thank you guys. Hey guys, I'm Mickey back here for another video, guys. Today I'm going to go ahead and give my predictions for this week's predictor sets. So guys, starting off right away, I will go ahead and be a lot slower with this and put the collectibles in the set as I go so you can see it a little bit better. And also you will see graphics on the screen so that you can see backing up my opinion on who I choose. So let's start off right away. The Bills play the Colts. The Bills are at home and they will have to win by 6 points in order for this to be true. Now, Tyrod Taylor is no longer a starter, and you see on the screen right now that this is what the scores have been lately of the Buffalo Bills. But keep in mind that, of course, again, Nathan Peterman is starting, not Tyrod Taylor. Last time Nathan Peterman started, he threw 6 interceptions to the San Diego Chargers, and they took an L. Now, this one is against the Colts, which is a far worse defense and team as a whole, I feel like. So with that in mind, I do not think it's going to be as bad for Nathan Peterman. But at the same time, I got to go with false here because I do not think the Buffalo Bills are going to go ahead and beat the Indianapolis Colts. I think the Colts will win this matchup, and also I think it's going to be a really close game now. Next guy we have here is going to be Charles Clay, at least 3 receptions. Now, Charles Clay, interesting, very interesting, because Tyrod Taylor loves Charles Clay. He definitely is one of his favorite targets. And obviously, Nathan Peterman being a young quarterback, young rookie quarterback coming in, a lot of times the young rookie quarterbacks like to favor the tight end because it's kind of like a safety valve. It's a safety option to check down to. And 3 receptions is not too much, but over the last 3 weeks, he had 3, 4, and 3. So he really is cutting it close when it comes to this. Also, he does have injury concerns that could hinder him, staying in the game for the whole entire game. But I'm going to go with true. A young rookie quarterback coming in for his second NFL start. He doesn't want to throw 6 interceptions again. Most likely, he will go ahead and try to check it down to the tight end to get some safe and easy completions. Bengals beat Bears by 7 points. You guys did not see last week, the Bengals played the Pittsburgh Steelers, and what a crap fest that was. They destroyed the Pittsburgh Steelers, in which they decided to let the Steelers come back from a 17-point deficit and win the ball game. So, yeah, congratulations. 20-point deficit and win the ball game. Congratulations, Bengals. Now they're going ahead and playing back at home, which they just lost the Steelers at, against the Chicago Bears. Now, the Chicago Bears, do not sleep on this team. Now, obviously, they lost last week to the 49ers. They got killed by the Eagles. But in the beginning of that Eagles game, it was actually a pretty good game. It was actually pretty tough both ways. And then, of course, it got out of hand once the second half started. So with that in mind, this should be an interesting game. 7 points, I feel like, is a lot to lay on this team. Buffalo has a really good defense. But the whole entire point of Buffalo is, if they're at, Chicago. If they're at home, always take Chicago. If they're away, never take Chicago. So with that in mind, I'm not taking Chicago away. I feel like I believe Kyle Long is not going to start, or he's not healthy. So with that in mind, give me the Bengals. Brandon LaFell, 4+ receptions. Kind of interesting. Let me go ahead and check out how many stats he had recently. Now, LaFell obviously is not the starting. He's not the number 2. I believe he is. What is he, the number 2 or 3? Because you got AJ Green, and I believe LaFell was after that. Now, last couple weeks, he had 4 receptions last week. Usually how EA does this is, whatever the player has last week, they kind of go off that and they do that. So 4 receptions last week, 3 receptions week 4, 3 receptions week 4, and 6 receptions the week before that. So, and obviously throughout the season, he's had anywhere from 1 to 5 receptions. So this is a very challenging because obviously the Bears do have a really good defense. I'm going to go with false for this one. I don't think he's going to repeat what he did last week. And again, he hasn't got over 3 receptions. He's only gotten it 1 time this whole entire season. So, other than, last week. So I'm not going to go ahead and do this. Now, this one is an interesting matchup because the Packers, on paper, should win this matchup. But this, if there's any game that the Brownies are going to win, this would be the game they win. Now, I'm not 100% sure. I think Aaron Rodgers comes back next week. Therefore, he will not be in this matchup. So, if he somehow plays, you know you're going to take 100% take Rodgers. And it will be true. But if he doesn't play and it's still Hundley, I got to go with True just because of the fact I do not trust the Browns ever. And I never want to bet with the Browns. But I'm not going to lie. I could see this going the opposite way. And I could see the Brownies taking the dub here. Next one we have here is going to be Davante Adams 1+ touchdown. So Davante is obviously the guy that, you know, Hundley likes. Jordy Nelson has taken a huge dive since the loss of Aaron Rodgers, but yet it seems like Davante Adams has gone up. So with that in mind, over the last, let's see this. Over the last 6 weeks, he has 2 touchdowns total. He had a touchdown in the game against Pittsburgh, and he had a touchdown in the game against Chicago. Total in the season, he has 7 touchdowns. Against the Brownies, I want to say 100% he's going to get it, but he played Tampa Bay last week, and Tampa Bay is a really, really bad defense, and he couldn't get a touchdown against them. Now, again, he did do it against Pittsburgh, did not against Baltimore, did against Chicago, could not do it against Detroit or the Saints or Minnesota, but he did it twice against bad matchups in Dallas, and then, of course, he did it to the Bears earlier this year. But again, that was back when Rodgers was the thing. I'm going to go false here. I do not think he's going to score a touchdown. I know it looks like an easy matchup, but I feel like, you know, the Browns might keep this as a low-scoring, close game, and maybe the Packers only win 17-10. So, Chiefs win by 4. False. Chiefs are on a down spiral, and I will never, ever bet on them ever. So, with that in mind, right now they're doing really bad. The Raiders are on the rise. They beat the Giants last week. I know that doesn't seem like a big accomplishment, but trust me, it's definitely something good because they're 6-6 right now. Same thing with the Chiefs. They're both 6-6 too. So, I definitely feel like the Chiefs right now losing all these games, they're just going to continue to spiral downward, and I don't think I see any stopping point anytime soon. Next guy we have here is going to be Travis Kelce. Will Travis Kelce get 90 receiving yards? Now, last week he had 94. Week before that, he had 39, 109, 73, 133, 33, 37, and 98. So, will he get it? 100% yes. And the reason why is because the Oakland Raiders are the worst against tight ends. I'm always going to take any tight end against the Oakland Raiders. Always a good situation to put yourself in. Cowboys beat the Giants by 5 points. Now, the Cowboys last week was kind of an interesting team. They did go ahead and beat the Redskins, but it was because the Redskins pretty much shot themselves in the foot repeatedly. With that in mind, though, you know, the Cowboys definitely got back to what would win them games, is running the football and feeding Alfred Morris. With that in mind, though, Dak Prescott had his career low in passing yards in that ball game, only admitting 1 touchdown, I believe 102 passing yards. 1 touchdown being to, actually, yeah, was it 1 or 2? Might have been 2 touchdowns, my bad. I believe he threw 1 to Jason Witten, and I believe he threw 1 to Dez Bryant. So with that in mind, career low in passing yards, though, and you're going to tell me the Cowboys are going to go into New York, win by 5, with Eli coming back and starting now. Obviously, they fired the head coach and the GM. Now Eli's going to be the starter again. Ticked off Eli against Dallas in New York. And the Cowboys are going to win by 5. Yeah, give me the Dallas. Guys, I mean, come on. No offense, Giants fans, but you guys, I feel like at this point, you guys need to fight for a pick more than fight for a game. Nonetheless, though, Eli Manning has 2 passing touchdowns. I'm not going to lie. I do think this is going to be a quite interesting game. I do not think that it's going to be a blowout by any means, but I definitely think it's going to be a 7-point game. With that in mind, though, Eli has 2+ passing touchdowns. looking at, obviously last week we can't look at that because he was benched last week due to a coaching mishap. But looking at the weeks before that, he has not had 2 passing touchdowns. Again, he didn't play last week. Well, actually, sorry, this does show him last time he played. He had 0 touchdowns against Washington, 0 against KC, 2 against San Fran, 2 against LA, 1-1, 2-2, 3-1. So, I'm gonna go with false here. I do not think he's gonna have 2 passing touchdowns in this ball game. Buccaneers win against the Lions. After losing to Baltimore, in Baltimore, now they got to travel to Tampa Bay to play the Buccaneers. I don't know what the status of Matthew Stafford is, and at this moment, I cannot tell you. I know that Baltimore hit his hand real bad, and I don't know if it's broken. I don't know if it's bruised or sprained or something, but all I know is that we definitely made him get hurt in that game. Now, I'll go ahead and look up real fast to see what Matthew Stafford status is at the moment of me recording this on Wednesday. But all I can say is right now, he is not out of the woods yet with his hand injury. So, it says he's not, 100% clear with his hand injury at this moment. But it says not significant. So, I'm guessing that means he will play this Sunday. With that in mind, I'm going to go with true that the Bucs will win just for that reason. Now, again, no disrespect to Lions fans, but if your quarterback is banged up with his hand, okay, you guys have no running game other than a third or fourth string running back who had a couple good runs against us, and your defense looks like complete shambles. You let the Baltimore Ravens offense score 20 or 28 points on you. I mean, there's only so much you can say. Tampa Bay, you got Jameis Winston back, you got Mike Evans, you got D-Jax, you got Cameron Brate, you got, Doug Martin might play this week, you got Peyton Barber, who just is lighting up the scene. Yes, you might not have the best defense in the world, but you guys have to win this game. I mean, you guys have the offense to destroy this Lions defense. So I definitely feel like they're going to do a good job. Mike Evans, 70+ receiving yards. Now, Mike Evans recently has been completely disgusting, I feel like. He has not been playing good at all. Last week, he had 33 yards, which, again, is just disgusting. Definitely something, that you do not want to see out of your number 1 receiver, especially a number 1 receiver in, fantasy football and real life. He's easily a top 10 receiver. Other than that, though, he had 78 yards the week before, 98 the week before that, 13, 60, 88, 95, and 49. So it kind of goes back and forth. But when Jameis is in, Jameis does target him plenty. Even against Green Bay, though, he did only have 2 receptions, 33 yards. But again, I do think he's going to get back on track this week. I'm going to have him get the 70 yards. I believe he's going to have 115. That's my prediction for this week for Mike Evans. Vikings beat the Panthers by 3 points. Now, you might call me a homer in the fact that I am a Vikings and Ravens fan. I do think the Vikings will win this game. I do think they'll win by at least 3 points. I actually think they're going to win this game by 10 points, and that's just my personal opinion. So, with that in mind, Vikings win that game. Cam Newton, 2 total passing and rushing touchdowns. 2 total. I don't think he's going to get a rushing touchdown. I'm not going to lie. The Vikings have a really good linebacking core. They also have a really good defensive line. Everson Griffin, Donnell Hunter, and Sharif Floyd, and Linval Joseph. They're going to just pretty much contain, I feel like, to a certain degree, Cam Newton. So I do not think he's going to have a rushing touchdown in this game. So that rushing touchdown I'm throwing out the window right now. 2 total passing and rushing touchdowns. So that means it's saying, will he have 2 passing touchdowns in this game? Now, the biggest thing I look at when it comes to this is going to be garbage time. Garbage time is the best thing ever for players because, for example, last week, the Saints destroyed the Carolina Panthers. But yet, in garbage time, Cam Newton was able to muster 2 passing touchdowns, and that obviously helped him get his stats up a little bit and get more touchdowns. Again, by the way, the Saints won 31-21. They won by 10 points, but based on watching that game, it did not look like the Saints at any time had any reason to doubt that they were not going to win that game. I do believe, again, in the end, they did come back, the Panthers. But again, I do call that garbage time because, again, it did not look like the Saints had any reason to think they would lose that game. Nonetheless, again, against the Vikings, it's a tough one because I could see them again in garbage time, or simply just maybe a fluky play gives up a big touchdown, and then that is how that goes. But again, Cam Newton last week 2, week before that 0, week before that 4, 0, 1, 0, 1, 3, 3. I'm gonna go with false. I do not think he's gonna get a rushing touchdown, and I'm not gonna give him 2 passing touchdowns. I think Christian McCaffrey might have a rushing touchdown. Texans win against the 49ers by at least 2 points. Now, this one is interesting because Jimmy G is starting. Last week, they did beat the Chicago Bears by 1 point. And now Jimmy G is going to be starting again in his second game, learning the playbook a little bit better, learning the offense a little bit better. And again, now playing the Houston Texans, who went ahead and lost to Baltimore 2 weeks ago on a Monday Night Football game. And I believe they beat the Cardinals last week, or the Cardinals beat them. Sorry, they played the Titans last week and they lost. So I'm going to go ahead and go with true. I think that they can go ahead and win this game. Jimmy G, oh no, sorry, not Jimmy G. I think the Texans can go ahead and win this game. Mainly because yes, Jimmy, again, I just made the point why the 49ers could win. But yes, Jimmy G is coming back. You know, he is the starter now. But again, it's another week under the playbook. But I just feel like the Texans, I don't know. This one's a toss-up. In my opinion, on this one, again, because I did just make the point for the why the Texans, why the 49ers are going to win. And now I'm kind of going back and forth because I'm like, well, I think the Texans are going to win. But the 49ers at the same time, I feel like it's going to be a really close game. So, again, this is a toss-up. Some of these guys, again, I've said it before, these are toss-ups. This one is a toss-up. I do think the Texans are going to win the game, but I definitely could see a narrative where the 49ers win. So, again, it's going to be close because the Texans did play the Ravens really tough that whole entire game, and it came down to the very end where the Ravens actually just squeaked out a victory. So, again, that could definitely post a narrative that, 49ers are going to lose this game. If DeAndre Hopkins starts going, here's a narrative for the Texans to win. DeAndre Hopkins, Lamar Miller, those 2 weapons. If they can get going, they could definitely, the team that almost beat the Ravens, the team that actually did beat the Cardinals, they could definitely win this ball game, especially if Tom Savage avoids turnovers. The 49ers have a weak defense that I don't think is going to be able to stop DeAndre or stop Lamar Miller. I just think that it's going to be difficult to, there's going to have to be some kind of scoring deficit between both teams. Both teams are going to have to keep scoring. Chicago has a weak offense, a good defense. That's why that was a close game. If they can go ahead and just score some points with DeAndre Hopkins, they should be fine. DeAndre Hopkins, at least 80 receiving yards. Interesting. And I just made the point that this is the man that has to get going in order for this, for this narrative to happen, for the Texans to win. Last 5 weeks, he had 80, 125, 76, 111, 86, 224, 19, and 52. I'm going to go with true here. I do think he's going to go ahead and have 80 receiving yards, and I do think he's going to have one phenomenal game, again, propelling the Texans to win the game. Jets beat the Broncos. I'm going to go with true and not even question this. The Broncos are complete booty butt cheeks, and do never, ever trust on the Broncos. Trevor Siemian, 200 passing yards. Let me go ahead and see what he actually has done recently. I've not seen what he has done recently. I know he's booty butt cheeks, and he's losing every game. But nonetheless, you have to give him the benefit of the doubt. They lost last week to Miami, who destroyed them. Last time he had over 200 passing yards was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times this season. And it was... recently, he has 200 passing yards, 149, 198, 207, 376, 179. Nah. I do not think he's going to have over 200 passing yards. Next guy we have here is going to be, will the Titans beat the Cardinals by 3 points? This one's going to be kind of interesting. Now, the Titans are kind of, I don't know, they're kind of like on that fence for me when it comes to the team. They are beating people, but they're not beating people like confidently, and they're not doing it to a point where I feel safe. They almost lost to Baltimore. Should have lost to Baltimore. You guys know you should have lost to us. Nonetheless, if the Ravens could have scored more than 7 points in the second half of a football game, Ravens would have won. But nonetheless, Ravens offense is booty butt cheeks. I digress. Titans win by Cardinals by 4 or by 3. I'm going to go with no, and there's a couple reasons why. First off, no, because I think the Cardinals are going to win. Okay, first off. Second thing, if the Titans do win, it's going to be a tight game. And if it's a tight game, I think it might be a 1 or 2 points game. So with that in mind, Chandler Jones will have at least 1 sack. Chandler Jones so far this year, let me go ahead and look him up. Again, I'm going to try my best to make sure all the stats are on the screen for you guys to see for every single prediction. So again, you guys you don't have to 100% listen to me, guys, on every single prediction. If you feel a certain way on a certain prediction or a certain prediction, go ahead and pick your own way. If you don't, 100% agree because you're like, oh, I don't think it's going to happen like that, then go ahead and pick your own prediction. Pick the ones that you agree with me on, and we'll move on. Anyway, though, Chandler Jones last week 1 sack. Week before that 2 sacks. Week before that 0, 1, 1, 2, 1, 0, 1, 2, 1. So I'm gonna have to go with true. I mean, Tennessee's offensive line is not the best in the business, so I'm gonna go with true on that one. Chargers win against the Redskins by 7. This one's interesting. I'm going to go with false. I don't know why, but the Redskins, they're always in games, right? They're always like neck and neck at the very end, about to win the game. There's a narrative where they could win this game. But they don't. I think they lose by 3. The Brownies made it a close game with the Chargers. The Brownies could have scored 1 touchdown in the end in the 4th quarter. They could have made it a 3-point game and possibly had a chance of winning that game. So I'm not going to have any faith that the Chargers are going to blow out the Redskins by any means. At the same time, I do not think it's going to be I think it's going to be a very close game that could go in the Redskins' favor. So, Hunter Henry has at least 4 receptions. Last week he had 7. Before that, 5. Before that, 2. 1, 2, 4, 5, 3, 2, 7. I'm going to go with true. The Redskins on defense are booty butt cheeks, and I do not trust anything on the Redskins defense. So with that in mind, I do think they could definitely go ahead and just keep dinking and dunking down the field. Rams win against the Eagles by 3. I see the narrative where the red hot Rams come in, go back home in LA. The Eagles come in after losing Seattle, and they just steampile the Eagles. The Eagles go to 10-3, and then everyone starts talking about why they thought the Eagles were a Super Bowl champion, and now they don't. That narrative, I don't think is going to come to pass. Rams beat the Saints by 26-20. They beat the Cardinals by 16. They beat the Texans. They got killed by the Vikings. But that wasn't Minnesota. This is an interesting game. I am so torn on this game. Because there's a narrative where the Eagles need the revenge game here to come back and show the world why they are still number 1 in the league. Which they aren't, because the Vikings are number 1. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. But still, they need this game to come back and show that they are still a Super Bowl contender. I know, I'm not saying that they're not, but a lot of people kind of, when they lost to Seattle, was like, okay, write them off. There's the Oregon Ducks. Nonetheless, a lot of people said that. So, they need this game. And I kind of feel like in a way they need this game more than the Rams. Yet the Rams are, Seattle won last week against Philadelphia. So now the Rams are only 1 game ahead of Seattle. So I'm going to go with true. It pains me to do this because I think the Eagles could win this game. But I think the Rams might just play tough and win by 3 in the end. Sammy Watkins at least 1 touchdown. Oh my God, are we actually talking about Sammy Watkins? Sammy Watkins, he always does something when he's on your bench in fantasy. Isn't that the facts? Anyway, Sammy Watkins, will he have 1 plus a touchdown? Last 2 weeks he has 1. The week before that he has 0. Then 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 2, 0, 0. Will he have that? I'm going to go with true. I have no confidence in him, and at the same time, I have a little bit of confidence in him. Jaguars beat the Seahawks, win against Seahawks by 3. False. Marquise Lee, 65 receiving yards. Let's go ahead and look up what Marquise Lee has gone ahead and done to see if he could get this, what's called, hit this milestone. Stats, let's see what he has done. So far, last week, 86, 13, 45, 55, 75, 72, 83, 49. Against Seattle, who does have a somewhat weak defense secondary-wise without Earl Thomas. I'm sorry, Earl Thomas is back. Without Cam Chancellor and Sherman. I'm going to go with false. I do not think that he's going to have that much. I think this is going to be more of a running game. Steelers win by 7. You know the Ravens are going to win this game, right? I mean, I don't know. I feel like that this is the game the Ravens win because of the fact they almost lost to the Bengals last week. I know it's on the road against Cincinnati, in Cincinnati, in the jungle. They have no Ryan Shazier, which, again, I got to say a million times, I pray for Ryan Shazier. I hope for a speedy recovery. I pray for him and his family. Best linebacker in the game. So freaking sad to see him get hurt like that. And that is 100%. I'm a Ravens fan, guys. But I can never, ever wish to see any player have the hit and be down like he was. That was truly sad and just awful. So, again, prayers for Ryan Shazier. And I so hope. I wish he was in this game. And I know that would make the Steelers better, but I do never want to see a player get hurt. Ever. That is the most awful thing. It's to see any player, even when a player hurts himself, like just let's say they like sprain a hand or sprain a thumb, that's awful too. Like when Stafford got hurt against the Ravens, I was like, oh my God, why? I do not want to see a player get hurt because I love to see these athletes out there. And that's the biggest thing about this year. It's like, you know, all these big players are going down. Everyone's like, oh, yes, now we have a chance. Or this team has a chance. Or that team has a chance. Yeah, that's true. But do you not realize that that is true? Your team has a better chance now if a solid player goes down. But it just makes football not fun. It makes football worse. So, you know, obviously this is a game of collisions and a game of players getting hurt. But it's just really sad to see Ryan Shazier get hurt. I wish he didn't, and I wish he does have a speedy recovery. And again, truly, my thoughts and prayers goes out to him and his family. Nonetheless, beside that, Steelers win against the Ravens by 7. I'm gonna go with false. And the reason why is even if the Steelers win this game, it's gonna be by 3 points. They beat the Bengals by 3, and Ravens Steelers always are a very, very close matchup. It's never a blowout either way. It's always really, really close until the end. So, with that in mind, let's go ahead and look at Cameron Heyward. Cameron Heyward, 1 sack. Last week he had 0. 2 weeks ago he had 2. 2, 0, 1, 1, 0, 0, 2, 0, 0, 1. He has 9 on the season. Ravens don't have the weakest offensive line. They definitely, you know, have a decent offensive line, but nonetheless, he had 2 last time he played us. I think he can go ahead and get 1. Joe Flacco, 200 passing yards. It's going to be interesting, isn't it? So again, guys, you do not know this. It's a Sunday night matchup. Nonetheless, Joe Flacco recently had 269 last week, 141, 183, 261, 100, 186, 180, 222, 235. Will he go ahead and do this again against Pittsburgh? True. False. This was such a toss-up. False. Nah. I can't have faith that Joe's going to do it again. Patriots beat the Dolphins by 12 points. You always take the points with the Patriots, guys. Alright, we got 2 left. Kenny Stills, 5 receptions, and Cameron Wake, 1+ sack. Let's go ahead and look at Cameron Wake to see what he has done recently. I might have to go ahead and change it to true if he does go ahead and... recently, last 2 weeks, he had 2 sacks back-to-back. Last time he played, I bear that. Wait, timeout. What the heck? What? I think this Google is actually wrong on this player. Was he hurt? Did they play? Hang on, timeout. I might be completely incorrect. Did they played last week? Who did they play last week? They played the what's it called? They got killed. Oh, they killed the Broncos. Did he not play last week? What date is this game? Let me see something. I'm guessing he didn't play last week. Based on how this adds up, yeah, I'm going to guess he didn't play last week. And yeah, he didn't play last week. So, last time he did play was against the Patriots, and he had 1 sack. But 1 sack before that, 0, 0, 0, 2.5, 1, 1.5, 1, 1. Go with false. It's difficult to sack Brady. It's really difficult to sack Brady. 5 receptions for Mr. Kenny Stills. Kenny Stills, let's see what he has going ahead. I know last week he had a great game against the Denver Broncos. And with that in mind, you know, he definitely could have another great game. But Matt Moore is not the starter. Matt Moore is the guy who loves him so freaking much. So with that in mind, against the Patriots, last time he played the Patriots, he had, I believe, 3 receptions, it says. Let me see. He had 3 receptions against the Patriots. I think he's not going to get 5 this time, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and say that Kenny Stills does not have 5 receptions. So, guys, those are my predictions for this upcoming week. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to slap the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. See you guys next one. Peace out.